Welcome back to Open Line. We have with us Freddie O'Connell, Metro Council member, represents downtown, the urban core, talking about ending prison privatization in Nashville. And we have William. Let's go to William. Hello, William. Go right ahead. What's on your mind?
Well, the stinking thing is the commissary in the prisons that's causing all the stink and all the trouble and all the fights and all the hurt and all the guards. And the guards taking in dope and close the damn things up and get you a cafeteria and feed them cafeteria. If they don't eat there, they don't eat nowhere. And furthermore, it would stop all this traffic with drugs going out. There's more drugs in them damn jails than there are outside. You know, everybody knows it except the people that run that place. We've had trouble ever since '62. They closed the prison over there. We had a great prison going. It paid for itself. It did people that give them things they need. They raised a farm over there. They made tags over there. They don't make nothing in jail except more money and expense on the poor and the families that are trying to take care of them while they're in jail, probably because they can't get a trial. They're sitting over waiting on one, waiting my foot. Build a bigger courthouse if you have to, but take the commissary out. You'll see a difference in 90 days and keep them from dragging dope through the jail.
All right.
That's all you got to do. It'll change everything, but nobody knows that.
Okay. All right. Thanks, William. All right. What do you think about what William's saying here?
Yeah. So it's interesting because I think one of the earlier callers maybe Bill referenced some of the national studies on just privatization around America, and I think between that and what Steve's noted about transparency is there are problems, right? I could have come in here with a stack about this big of issues in private prisons across America, right? And I guess I want to be careful not to speak directly to that because I mentioned we have had a kitchen issue out there that is happening right now. But I am very reluctant to go in and say, I'm going to say something that ought to be listened to about how a specific prison ought to be operated, right? I would leave that up to, I know, for instance, coming back to Sheriff Hall, that he has worked for years to make sure that he's using best practices in the jail system. I know that TDOC has made unfortunate headlines over the past few years for some of their operational difficulties. CoreCivic, having one right now as we speak. Whether or not to have a commissary or not, I think is not really the focus for me of this report, but I do think that no matter what, we ought to be looking to, hey, what are best practices that keep safety in the prison high, generally keep treatment where it ought to be, and to that point, having as little contraband as possible, because again, I've seen plenty of reports about that issue.
So what do you think about the calls tonight? We're going to go to break here in a moment, but what kind of response are you getting overall? I
think this is it. This is the conversation. I heard in several of these calls absolute concern about two things. I mean, we heard a little bit about the problem of mass incarceration just generally, which yes, I'm sensitive about that as well. Again, there's a 37208 issue in Nashville's past. Part of me says, have we done enough in that zip code to solve the problem just in 37208? And then also, what are we doing to make sure there is no 37208 anywhere in Nashville, right? That there is not a zip code that will ever show up for the people who are governing the city right now, living in the city right now, that no future zip code in Nashville will show up on a study at the top of the heap for somebody who grew up here today will likely be in jail later, right? We don't want to be in that position. I think then the rest of it is, okay, we've got something that it sounds like there's agreement that there's a moral problematic piece to this, and can we reconcile that with, how do you take something that you say, we know there are bad incentives here, and yet if we remove those incentives, our cost goes up, and we want to be fiscally responsible, and I think that's where the conversation is going to be had over these next few years.
All right, we'll take a break, and then I'll ask when we come back, kind of where do we go from here and the timeline and all of that. So we'll take a break, be back, wrap everything up right after this.